Here we go, the iPhone 15 Pro Max versus the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. This was Apple's best chance to finish off Samsung at their own game. Did they do it? Well, we're going to find that out at the end of this video. First, let's talk about value. Is 2023 pricing-wise, these phones are absolutely expensive, $1,200 asking price for both phones. Now, design-wise, when it comes to just visual look, both companies have found their design identity, so it's really going to come down to your personal preference. But there is one area which, if it's important to you, it's going to have a big difference when it comes to real-life usage. And that is all thanks to the new titanium material that we have on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, making it a whopping 11 grams lighter than the Galaxy S23 Ultra's 232 grams weight. As I said before, this 11-gram lighter weight is going to make a big difference in real-life usage. Even Samsung knows the benefits of the titanium material. We're actually going to see this on the S24 Ultra as per latest leaks, but for now, titanium is only exclusive to the iPhone 15 Pro and the Pro Max. Now, perhaps the absolute biggest change on the iPhone 15 Pro and the Pro Max has to be the USB-C edition. And well, out of these two phones, only one of them is the clear winner. Well, it is actually Samsung. While both phones have Gen 3 USB-C port for 10 gigabit speed transfer, Samsung's USB-C port actually offers faster charging of up to 45 watts, while Apple still stays the same as the iPhone 14 Pro's charging speeds. The difference is hella noticeable as the S23 Ultra charges in under 1 hour time, about 57 minutes compared to 1 hour and 44 minutes that the iPhone takes for 0 to 100%. So while all of us are proud of Apple for bringing USB-C port, but Samsung is clearly win the USB-C war. Other than titanium and USB-C, Apple introduced the Action button. This new pressure-sensitive button can do a range of different functions from changing the ring profiles to launching camera, enabling flashlight, etc. There are a lot of functionality, especially when you pair it with the Apple's shortcut application. While Apple's implementation goes a bit deeper, Samsung already had an Action button in the form of its power button for quite some time. You can set different actions depending on double pressing or pressing and holding the power key. There are 4 functionalities that you can implement on top of opening any application. So like I said, Apple's implementation goes a bit deeper, but we have this sort of ability on the Galaxy S23 Ultra as well. The display-wise, surprisingly, Apple hasn't done anything different here, compared to last year's models. So we have slimmer bezels, but still with 2000 nits of brightness, which is more than the 1800 nits that we get on the S23 Ultra. The big difference comes down to the Dynamic Island build, which is a cool software trickery. I mean, it works great with third-party apps giving you a pretty easy ongoing notification, but it's still not a major feature. I still personally prefer the cleaner look that we have on Samsung, with that one-punch hole in the middle, especially when I'm watching Netflix. I just prefer to do that on my Galaxy S23 Ultra. Now, performance is where Apple can cause serious problems for not only Samsung, but other Android manufacturers. The iPhone 15 Pro comes with a 3nm Apple A72 Pro chip versus 4nm on this 23 Ultra, on top of having better CPU scores and slightly better power efficiency. The biggest jump comes in the form of this new GPU on the A17 Pro, where it can actually run console games. Yes, we're not kidding, the iPhone 15 Pro series will be the first smartphones on the market to have proper console games for the first time on a smartphone. Samsung, they like to talk all about ray tracing in their keynotes, but they never actually work with these game studios to bring console games for their phones. I gotta say thanks, Apple, for taking the mobile gaming to next level. Considering the recent boom of handheld gaming consoles, a lot of people will be tempted to use the iPhone 15 Pro series or with the Samsung Galaxy devices for this particular reason. Now moving on to cameras, Apple might actually be in trouble. Apple has actually killed the 3x zoom on their iPhone 15 Pro Max for a 5x periscope zoom sensor, and that is just not enough to compete with Samsung's monstrous 10x optical zoom that goes up to 100x while still offering you a separate 3x optical zoom for portraits. But seriously, that 48mm sensor has to do some serious magic in order to keep up with the quality that you get from an actual 3x optical zoom on the S23 Ultra. So once again, between the Samsung and Apple camera comparison, Samsung still is the undisputed king of the zoom. Now when it comes to the main camera sensor, Apple has done a pretty key change, and that is the phone takes 24 MP shots by default, not 12 megapixels. So you can either take 24 MP of shots or take 48 or switch to raw 48 megapixel mode. On the other hand, Samsung has 12 megapixel 50 and 200 MP camera mode. So both have great flexibility when it comes to high-res camera modes. However, this will majorly comes down to who does the image processing best, because when you switch to high resolution, there's a noticeable difference in dynamic range. So if Apple is going 24MP by default, they probably have figured out the HDR processing. So considering that they could have an upper hand over Samsung when it comes to the detail level out of that main camera sensor. Now as for video, there isn't any major change, we still get the same kind of features. Apple still doesn't offer 8K video recording like the S23 Ultra, which by the way is not a gimmick, it actually adds extra details compared to the iPhone 4K videos. But long repeated usage indicates it's not good. So overall, when it comes to consistency and reliability of the video performance, iPhone will still have an upper hand. Now when it comes to battery performance, I personally expected that the iPhone 15 Pro series will just thrash the S23 Ultra, especially when you consider the 3nm chip. But surprisingly, Apple hasn't mentioned any improvement on their website. So we're likely going to see the same battery performance as the iPhone 14 Pro Max, which means Galaxy S23 Ultra will still have an upper hand because it does that in with a fast 45-watt charging. So collectively, your phone is lasting longer and is charging quicker. So Samsung still wins in this category overall. Lastly, software-wise, the iPhone 15 Pro Max is packing iOS 17 versus One UI 6.0 based on Android 14 on the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Now we are at a point where both of these two operating systems are pretty mature and they're gonna satisfy pretty much any user. No matter which one you choose, depending on which current ecosystem you use right now, that is going to be a big deciding factor between these two operating systems. With that being said, there are still some key strands like Samsung offering proper DeX mode, which transforms the S23 Ultra into a laptop, something the iPhone 15 Pro Max cannot do despite having the 17 Pro chip, and of course the iPhone still can't do the split-screen multitasking. The S23 Ultra is the only phone on the market to still offer a built-in stylus for all those drawings and writings on. Apple aside, we see some strong features, such as iMessage and FaceTime along with proper console games that are coming exclusively to the iPhone 15 Pro and the 15 Pro Max, something we're not going to see on Samsung devices for a bit of time. Android versus iOS is going to be a subjective choice, so the question remains, did Apple finish off Samsung at their own game? Well, no, they had all these years to come out with the proper periscope zoom, only to come out with the 5x zoom length. Same thing can be said for the USB-C port, since it doesn't offer Gen 4 speeds along with no faster charging. I do appreciate the titanium build on the 15 Pro Max, making the phone lighter along with the 17 Pro and the whole console gaming. If that is something specifically you want, then the 15 Pro Max could be a good choice. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let us not forget the S23 Ultra is still a few months old, so the proper comparison will come in the form of S24 Ultra, which is actually rumored to pack one of iPhone 15 Pro Max's prime feature, and that is the titanium material. So for that, you might have to wait a few months till January, I guess. But yeah, that's it for this comparison. Again, let me know what you think about Samsung versus Apple in 2023. Subscribe if you're new here because we're going to be doing a lot more coverage on the iPhone 15 series, so you don't miss out on any video. With that being said, I'll see you guys later. Peace out.